Welcome back to another episode. Once again, I'm Abe Wine, former host of Truck Night American History Channel, owner-operator of Shop Rat Metalworks. And as always, for the time being, until he quits, PJ's back here holding the cameras from A10 Media. I point over there because we have all these big banners up on the wall nowadays. So it's cool of companies that I like and like to work with and have done things with. So we need to touch base on something. At the end of the last video, I caught some heat from a few of you, like actual face-to-face, of some things I said. And I said, I don't care about this YouTube stuff. And PJ edited it to where I said it like 5 times, because I probably did say it 5 times, but nonetheless. And I wanted to give some context to that, because I had a few people say, hey man, I felt like you were like berating me and beating me up. And I apologize, that wasn't the intent of what I was saying, so I wanted to give a little context. The reason I said that is because I've been doing this work my whole life. My grandfather and uncle had a big rig shop when I was a child, and they still have it. My uncle runs it now. My grandfather started over 40 years ago. My uncle raced dirt track and had, I don't know, between him and the partner he had in the car, they had like 11 or 12 wins in less than 2 seasons here in the Winchester, Hagerstown, area of dirt track racing. Many, many moons ago though. So I grew up doing this. I've always done it before YouTube existed, before social media existed. So I don't do it to please, everybody on YouTube or social media. This is just what I do. This is part of my life. And I'm sharing that with y'all because I do enjoy doing this and I enjoy sharing the work, and I hope that the next generation sees this and realizes you can still make a living using your hands and figuring things out and fabrication and building motors or whatever it may be. So I don't do the YouTube to try to get views or to be YouTube famous or whatever you want to call it. This is just something myself and PJ enjoy doing, so we do it. It's not to chase views. It's not to, please everybody else. This is what we do to begin with, and we would probably still be doing it, I know I would be doing it even if there wasn't a camera or social media, didn't exist. So I wanted to give some context for that. So if you felt like I was just trying to beat you up, I promise that wasn't my intent. I don't do the YouTube thing to chase views. I do it to document the builds and the work we're doing and to show what is a big part of my life and always has been a big part of my life. So if you feel like I'm beating you up, I'm sorry. All right, we got that out of the way. We're friends again, we're good. All right, let's move on, shall we? Just for reference, we're going to insert this because this is what I got to look at. I got PJ over here holding 2 cameras, and I'm like, do I look in that eye or do I look in that eye? That eye or that eye? No, seriously. Thank you, PJ. Yeah, but this is what I look at. I'm trying to keep a straight face. A10 Media, come on. Anyway, okay. I think I'm coming down with something in my throat. Bear with me. I hope I'm not, but there's a bunch of people in my world that have been sick recently with sore throats, flu, whatever, which doesn't make sense because it's the middle of summer and it's been hot as all get out. But anyway, I'm going to show you one of the reasons why the 54 takes, longer than everybody expects. This is a piece from the machine shop side. This is a 1973 Oldsmobile 455 rocket motor. This is one of the last of the big block Oldsmobile motors that are getting kind of rare nowadays, to be honest. They're getting a little, you don't see them too often. Give you some backstory on this. Gentleman inherited a car, I believe, through his mother-in-law side of the family. Forgive me if you see this, good sir, and I get the details wrong, I apologize. But basically ended up getting a car. And it's a boat. It's a big 4-door, I think it's a Delta 88 Oldsmobile. And have you ever seen one of those things? They're just big boats. But it had the big 455 rocket motor in it. And it needs every inch of those cubic inches to get that car down the road. So the family, I don't know what happened, but basically he ended up with it, and it'd been garage kept for like 30 years. So he wanted to do something with it. He didn't think they should throw it away, scrap it. So it's burning coolant. They pull it out, bring the heads, bring the block here. Heads have a crack in it. Hey, you know, you don't have a set of heads. Need to find a set of heads. Well, what's our options? Well, we can get aluminums. Oh wait, there's only like one company making aluminum heads for these things. So it's either we find another set of factory heads or we get aluminums. And then it was, well, if you get aluminums, then we don't want to use the cast iron intake. So then you get an intake. And then it was, hey, well, why don't we just put a cam in it? And then we found a bad spot in one of the cylinder walls, which happened to be the cylinder that was cracked in the head. So we knew something was up pretty bad right there. So we ended up having to do a repair sleeve. Typically don't like doing just one sleeve in a block. I already can hear the other machinist guys just gritting their teeth yelling at me right now. But for this project, that's what we did. Sleeved actually this particular cylinder, come hither. So you can see there's a little bit of a ridge, and it's not even a ridge, you can't feel it. We did just a hone to put crosshatch back in, but you can see here why this one's all fresh, because this is the repair sleeve that we put in. But as you can see, you can't tell from up here, because did the sleeve, honed everything, decked the block both sides, and the reason it looks wet is because it's high humidity here, and we got WD-40 all over this block to keep the flash rust from happening. So yeah, went through the shop blast machine, got it all pretty, painted it obviously, put a coating on it so it looks good when it goes in. The oil pan still needs to be done, but that's for another day. And no, I'm not baking a pie, but we just decided, since, well, you can't have the original motor, because this seems to be a theme with me. If you pay attention to the 54, you know that's what we started to do, and then it didn't happen. Roller rockers, new lifters, because we got a brand new cam going in this thing from Comp Cams. Get a little potato sound to it. So new roller rockers, soaking in some high zinc oil. Over here, one of the only companies that makes aluminum heads actually for these 455s is Edelbrock. I'm not sponsored by Edelbrock. Not, you know, your opinion, good, bad, or indifferent of Edelbrock, but they're one of the only ones that make aluminum heads for this. And we didn't have a set of heads, so brand new Edelbrock heads are going to be going on this motor. Aluminum intake, which is actually at another spot in the shop right now. So I had to keep that. That was, I don't know why. I don't know why. But when I saw the brass and I knew we were going to paint the block black, I tediously taped those off, because for some reason I just wanted that to shine through. That brass against black, I always thought that looked good. So both sides are actually done that way. And we'll end up doing the pan, the original. The customer wants it the factory color, so we'll end up doing that later on. We're gonna get it in the bead blaster, clean it up, and then paint it, put it on. But this is one of the reasons, this is one of the things we do at the machine shop. I don't typically like doing full engine assembly here, but this guy specifically asked for it. The customer wanted it. I actually tried to turn it down, and he requested that we go ahead and do it. And you can see in here, brand new camshafts already installed. We'll have to break that in. So this should be a pretty healthy big block when it's done, besides the aluminum heads and the aluminum intake and the camshaft. And it's actually, before it came to us, it had already been bored 30 over many moons ago. So it's not even a 455, it's punched 30 over already. So yeah, and then I believe the customer, I'd have to look back through the exchanges of emails and texts, but I believe he went ahead and got a Holley sniper system. So it's going to be fuel injection on top of this with the ignition system to go with it. So this is going to be pretty stout motor when it's done. I think he's got full headers for it and everything. So, but again, this is one of the reasons why, you know, you're trying to juggle all these projects, right? It's kind of a part of the business. That's what we do here. This is our business, or my business rather, at ShopRat Metalworks. Went ahead and invested in the machine shop, so we got all that stuff going on. And this is just one of many things that we've already done in the machine shop. And then I'm over here trying to get the Shawnee truck done. So yeah, kind of spreading myself maybe a little thin, but hey, it is what it is. It's all good. But this is, again, one of the things you get to do when you actually still use your hands. And some of y'all do it in your garage. You know, you do your 9 to 5 or whatever you got, and this is what you do. This is your hobby. This is what you do in your garage. So, yeah, I get it, man. But this is just a cool project I want to show you guys that we're getting to do here. And it'll be done soon for the customer. Probably next week we'll be ready to ship it out so they can put it back in the car and test fire it. How about we go talk about 50 fold, shall we? Okay, the 54, this ongoing project. So it has been cleaned up on the inside, if you haven't noticed from the last video, but then I started making messes again. Wiring harness. Everybody just loves wiring. And it actually doesn't bother me that bad. Personally, it's just very time consuming. And then you route something and then you're like, there's a better way to do it. So then you got to undo what you did and go on about it. That's the only part, is having to do something 3 times until my ADD/OCD is satisfied. But yeah, wiring has started. Yep, wires going through dash and trying to sort out what's going to go where, and we're probably going to mount the actual, you know, little box up here on the firewall. That way it's away from your feet, but tucked up enough and easy to access. You know, that's one thing. Some guys, they hide these things, and yeah, it's clean, it looks good, it's very hidden, but when you're sitting on the side of the road, I don't want to have to be digging behind a seat, pulling an access panel out, trying to figure out why I don't have lights, you know, when it's dark or whatever the case is. So easy, functional. Again, this isn't a showstopper truck per se, but you know, we definitely want to keep it up while still making it a functional vehicle to run around in, because we do plan on driving this truck. I say that because I know the fine folks at Shawnee Springs want to be able to drive it. They want to run it in parades. They want to be able to display it. If, you know, their children want to run around in it, they want to be able to, you know, see that happen. So again, it's got to look cool, but it's also got to function. But we got the very basic heater box and vent system in. This is your floor. This is all it was back in the day. This is your floor down here. Obviously that's your heater core, your blower motor's tucked in behind it. It pipes over to here. And the insert here part was this flapper, and it was no good. It was rusty, crusty. The felt was going off of it, and we just kind of replicated one. That way you can divert air down to the floor. You can divert it up to the piping. This actually runs through the dash over to this piece here, and there's actually one behind the glove box. And then it goes up to your defrost. So that's all you had back then in this truck, was floor or defrost, and it was only heat. That's it. That's all you got. So if you're watching, you probably noticed another thing that has happened inside the interior. The headliner is no longer hanging down per se. I mean, it kind of is, but haven't trimmed it out and haven't put it in the final location. But as you can see, there's all these clear thumbtacks all the way around. Excuse me. And the reason for that is this style headliner uses, let's see here, uses this. And really this is just a strip to hide staples. So what you're going to do is you're going to come around, and kind of where the thumbtacks are, there's a tack strip that's already been screwed into place all the way around, hidden behind there. And you'll take your staple gun, your interior staple gun, and you'll staple in through this strip as you're going around to hold this tight, get it tight. That way it isn't all flimsy and flappy, which you can see since it's been sitting here, it's starting to settle. That's one of the reasons I do the thumbtacks. Me personally, this is just how I do it. Do the thumbtacks, that way it'll settle some as it's outside of the box, because it was rolled up in a box for God knows how long. Now we got it all stretched out and it's settling. So as it settles, we might pull some thumbtacks out, stretch it here or there to get it tight and kind of get some of the wrinkles out of it the best we can. I know some guys that can get like these things immaculate. I'm not that guy. I'm going to do my best on this one for sure. But we got to get the rear glass in, because that's actually how these get retained. They use the rubber. When the rubber and the rear glass is in, this tucks behind the rubber after you trim it out. So we still have a few things to do. We've got to get the rear glass in, get the rubber in. That way we can trim these out, get the flaps kind of tucked into place. That'll be one of the last things we probably do for the headliner. But yeah, as you can see, it's coming along. We got it tacked into place where I feel fairly confident where it's going to be close to where it's going to be, and we'll go along and get it in place. It's going to be a two-man job. That's not something I guess you could do by yourself, but I don't know if I'm going to attempt that by myself. Come on in. Yep. All right, you got to get your fingers out. You got to push firmly. You need to be, really should be pushing where my hand is. Anybody I've ever helped do one of these, it was always a two-person job, so we'll probably just stick with that, probably for the best. Again, we cleaned everything, wiring, HVAC. There was something else. I don't know if this was in place already, but this is officially in place. Oh, haven't done it. We actually might do it today, but clutch linkage is now all hooked up, so we got to get some of the free play out and get it adjusted, but the pedals are starting to go into place, obviously. Pedals are coming into position. We got a pin that we needed for down here because, again, the master cylinder, this is your view hole down here for this, and you know that's how you get to your brake fluid as well. So we can now start bleeding the brakes here soon and get all that working. I'm sure I'm going to have to touch something up because it was, you know, over a year ago when I rebuilt the whole brake system and did all that fun stuff. So I'm sure something is stuck somewhere in one of these old drum brake systems somewhere. So again, many things going on. Interior's coming together, but there's even more that we've done on the outside. So let's go. Last video, I believe we set the motor in. Trying to think in my head what all was in the last video, but the inner fenders and part of the front clip obviously wasn't on. As you can see, we've started doing that. We've also started piecing a few things together in the engine bay besides the front clip. I didn't want to start putting the inner fenders on because it impedes obviously getting down to the engine. There's still a few things to button up. We got to do the new exhaust and do that. Oil filters, you know, down there on the side, so we could have just got right to it if that wasn't in the way. Still need to set to the distributor, and we didn't do that because it fits very, very snugly against that firewall. Excuse me. So, yeah. But decided to go ahead and put the inner fenders on because we're going to start routing things. The coolant lines, as you can see. And I haven't been leaving it like this. Usually there's a big moving blanket right here, but I'll describe and I'll lay out my thought process and kind of show you guys why this looks the way it is, and why there's two stainless steel ball valves here. So there's going to be a bracket to help support this coming here. Obviously we got all the tubing clamps in place to keep separation, and it just looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. OCD once again kicked in. I had one of my guys, these aren't fancy hose clamps, but they're all pointing the same way in the same location. Just, yeah. Again, the ball valves, the reason we have the ball valves in, and you see this a lot on big rigs, not so much a lot of the new stuff, but you know, late 80s, early 90s, this was a big thing, where you put your ball valves in, and when it starts getting warm outside or summertime, you close both ball valves off, close them off. That way there isn't hot coolant going back to your heater core. That way you're not heating up the water in the heater core. You're not getting hot in the cab. It just saves on heat from getting into the cab when it starts getting hot outside. That's pretty simple. It's easy to do. So right now they're shut because that's where they would be if we were running this truck right now. When we go to bleed the motor, the coolant system in the motor, we'll open the ball valves up to get coolant through everything and get all the air burped out. But that's the reason we have them, is so to keep the heat out of the cab when it gets hot outside and when it's summer. Obviously you have fresh air vent up there, but you can turn the blower motor on inside and have more air moving in the cab, and you can do that without having the heat on. This is the way to do that. Yeah, sure, you know, newer systems, they're all fancy electronic and they prevent that, but you know, this is something old school way of doing it. So again, they'll be routed, there'll be a bracket hanging up here, and I think we need to shorten them is what's going to happen there. Again, inner fenders came on as well because now we're starting to run the wiring harness. We're going to have to choose routes either across the firewall and down, or we might even decide to make an executive decision to pull this back in because the battery on these is mounted under the passenger side floorboard. So we might pull the wiring back out and run it across the cab underneath of that trap door. PJ, if you could be so kind, sir. Twist, and pull there. La-da! That's where your battery will be. That's where they were on these trucks. So we haven't decided, or rather I haven't decided, if I should run the wiring across inside the cab that goes to the battery, or if we should go across and down and under to the battery. I'm still sorting out what I think is going to be best. But again, you're still going to have wiring coming up through here that we need to lay out. The headlights, turn signals, etc. Because your fenders will be mounted on here. Obviously your headlights are going to be up front, so wiring is still going to be coming through. This is the location closest to the fuse panel, and that's where the factory wiring came out anyway. So going to come out here and we'll come down and start leading along. Again, wasn't really ready to do this, but decided it needed to be done in order to start laying things out better across here. I don't know if we should show them this yet. I don't know if I'm ready for this amount of hate because I already know the comments that I'm going to get. I can feel it preluding to that. Hopefully you guys love it. This is something, I'll explain our thought process behind this because this was also an owner decision besides my decision. I don't know if we should show you. I don't want to, it's fancy, it's expensive, I don't want to buy it. If you see wires, you probably already know what's coming. And I already know some of you are going to say, that's not going to work on there. I'm going to try to prove you wrong. we went and decided to go on top of that beautiful aluminum murmured intake, a Holley Sniper fuel injection system, or the throttle body injection system, whatever you want to call it. Not sponsored by them, not, no freebies here, paid for this, rather the client paid for it, because didn't want to be rebuilding carbs every other summer, or every other time it's, time to take the truck out to go do whatever, because it isn't going to be ran constantly. Yes, they plan on driving it, but it's also going to be on display half the time. So it's going to sit maybe for a month, maybe for 2 months. We don't know until we cross that bridge, and this box is kicking my butt right now. Right now. Anyway, so the thought behind that was we're already updating the 12-volt system from a 6-volt, because these were 6-volt trucks. So we're updating to a 12-volt system. We're doing a newer, I don't know where I got it right now, but MSD ignition system on it. Well, what goes with that? Oh, fuel injection. So don't know how long it's going to be sitting. Fuel injection, that system seems to hold up a little better to that, as long as you keep the battery up. And it's going to work better with that ignition system, because one, I'm not rebuilding points all the time. I don't like doing that personally. I know some of you older guys are going to give me a tongue lashing for it. Hey, that's your right, that's your opinion. And I didn't want to, fuel gelling up in the carb or getting crusty in there, and I'm having to pull the carb off to clean it, and just whatever. We're going with the fuel injection. Hate me all you want. Anyway, we're doing fuel injection. Get over it. And I get it. I understand where you got your purists is coming from, but the thought process that I come up with, actually with Scratch and I were kind of on the same wavelength when he was up here a couple years ago helping with the doors and saving the lettering and doing the sheet metal work on the doors for me, was they want this classic look of the truck like we just found it, because we did. If you go back and look at the older videos, the history of this truck, we didn't know it existed. And it's tied into so much local history here that we had to save it. So we want to keep that patina rust, the most of it, except for the cancer and structural bits and pieces. We want to keep that. So the idea is well, you pop the hood, there's the shiny stuff. There's the quote unquote show part of the truck in a way. And so it'll be all shiny and clean and stainless, mostly stainless bolts and the polished, Offenhauser valve covers, the aluminum intake, and just everything's going to be as clean as possible under the hood. That way when you pop it, you're not expecting it. You're seeing this, rough truck to the outside. We pop the hood and bam, all up in your face. You know what I'm saying? So that's the theory behind that. All right, you're all caught up. There you go. We did some stuff and we talked about a bunch of stuff, and yeah, this is a really weak outro. No, as you can see, we're still plugging along on the 54. We're going to keep kind of doing updates like this, showing a little bit of work. If you want to see more work, we can, and get back into that. My problem is during the week, obviously I don't have PJ here, and two, I'm just trying to physically do the work to get this thing done. There's some other projects possibly in the works. I don't want to say too much about it. I don't know if I'm going to take them on yet. I've been asked to take them on, more off-road based on some older stuff. But anyway, plugging along on this. We're going to keep working on it, keep doing stuff in the machine shop side. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to keep, showing the progression of this truck. Really, really trying hard this to be the summer that this truck gets done and it gets out. Like, subscribe, check out A10 Media, everything PJ's doing. You can find me on all the social media whatnots, Face Space, YouTube, and Instagrams, the old grams, ShopRite Metalworks. Check it out. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Till the next time. Peace.